Welcome back to another Charter Technologies tutorial. In this video, we'll be covering Google Calendar, more specifically, how to create an event, inviting people to those events, duplicating events, sharing calendars with other people, creating new calendars, the various day, week, month views, as well as creating and adding daily or weekly tasks. To get started, we first need to navigate to Google Calendar. To do so, we need to open a web browser. You have your choice of Google Chrome, Firefox, Microsoft Edge or Internet Explorer, or if you're using a Mac, Safari. I'm going to choose Google Chrome. Then we're going to go to google.com. In the upper right-hand corner, we're going to click on the 3x3 grid icon, which is the Google Apps menu. This Google Apps menu is a quick tool for accessing the various Google apps. We'll find Calendar, click it, and that brings us to our Google Calendar. Say we are in our Gmail already, and we want to quickly access our Google Calendar. You can click that 3x3 grid icon, find Calendar, click on it, and it'll open it in a new tab right here. Another way of accessing our Google Calendar is simply typing calendar.google.com in the address bar at the top. Now that we have successfully navigated to Google Calendar, let's familiarize ourselves with the various viewing and navigation tools within Calendar. Starting in the upper left-hand corner, we have our date selection tool here. This allows us to quickly navigate to the various days and weeks and months that we want to view our different events and schedules of things that we have going on. The current date is highlighted in a kind of like dark blue as seen right here. If we click on a different date, you can see that it's highlighted in a slightly light blue. This is to indicate what day we currently have selected. We can quickly navigate through different months by clicking the arrows here, and then we can select the days of those months. To quickly go back to the current date, we have the Today button up here. We click that, and it simply returns us back to whatever the current day is. We can also navigate via weeks by these arrows right here. This applies because we are currently in what is called the week view. In the upper right-hand corner here, we have a drop-down menu. This is our various calendar views. So currently we are set at a week. This shows us a week at a time. If we click this and we click day, it will show us a singular day and all of our events on that day. We can also select month, and we can see our whole month at a time. And then when you click these arrows in the upper left here, it'll go by whole months. So these little arrows right here navigate the next iteration of time based on this drop-down menu right here. Schedule will show us a list of all of our events, tasks, everything that we have in our Google Calendar that we can then scroll through. There's also a customized view right here that you can choose. By default, it's 4 days. So if you click on that, it'll show you whatever your currently selected day is and the following 3 days. So if we click the 17th here, we'll get the 18th, 19th, and 20th. If you want to change that to be, say, 3 days, 5 days, or however many days you want, we go ahead and upper right here on this gear, click Settings. Click Settings. Then on the left-hand side, we go to View Options. And then under View Options, we have Set Custom View. We click on this, and it allows you to choose how long you want your custom view to be. So say we want 2 weeks. We click that, automatically saves our changes. Then we click the back arrow in the upper left-hand corner here. And then we can see that our view has been set to 2 weeks. And in our drop-down menu, that what was 4 days is now 2 weeks. So that'll show you whatever day you click on in those 2 weeks, like so. If we go back to the week view, and we'll go back to today. So we want to see all of our events and tasks and what we have scheduled for Friday specifically and in more detail. Instead of going through the menu here and clicking day and then going over here and clicking Friday, what we can do is from our week view, simply click on Friday's date here, and it'll bring up our Friday day itinerary. You can see the times on the left-hand side right here, showing you what time everything is. Down here is our list of calendars. So all of our tasks, events, holidays are things that are organized via colors that are customizable. By clicking the 3 little dots next to your calendar, you can customize what colors they show up in our calendars here. And these help organize our various tasks for different things, such as these are meetings, or these are project things, one-on-ones, whatever your scheduling organization process is. More on creating new calendars and various calendars for organization purposes later in the video. Now that we've become acquainted with the various views and how to navigate our Google Calendar, it's time to create our first event. You have 2 different ways to create an event. The first one is in the upper left-hand corner. We can click Create, which will create your event by default at the current whatever your current time is. So it is about 11 o'clock, so it set the event at 11:30. If we were to save this, create another event, it'll stay at the same time, and we would have to edit the time to shift. The second way to create an event is to simply left click anywhere on our Google Calendar here. So say we want to create an event around 3 o'clock on Friday the 10th here. We can see on the left hand side our 3 o'clock is right here. We just hover over and click about there, and that creates our event where we clicked. This brings up our event options menu right here. At the top, we can give it a title. We can determine whether it's an event, reminder, or task. We have our time range, so the set time of the meeting, how long it'll be, how short it'll be, from when to when. We can add guests. To add guests, we simply click on the Add Guests box here and type in the person's email address. So, for example, person@organization.org. And to add multiple people, we simply add a comma in between each email address. So, other person at organization. We can also add groups. So, for example, if you have an email group, like a team that you want to send a mass invite to, instead of having to type every single person's email address, you can simply type the email address of that email group. So, for example, team@organization.org. And that will send an email invite to each person that you add as guests. We can add Google Meet video conferencing link. So simply click this button and it'll generate a link for a Google Meet video conference, similar to a Zoom meeting if you're familiar with Zoom. You can also copy and paste this link that's generated and send that link to other people who aren't on the invite list. You can only invite up to 100 participants. So what that means is in this Add Guests section, you can only have 100 addresses. To bypass that, you would send the event list to those email groups, and you can send it to more than 100 people. We can add a location if we want to add like a physical location. So conference room B. So conference room B, for example, or somebody's office, Jimmy John's down the street, wherever the location might be. And then we can add a description. This is our first meeting of the year. Or give like an itinerary, just more details about the event. We can click save, and that will save the event to your calendar. You will also see a prompt if you added guests to send an email to those guests. So generally you would want to hit send. That'll send the email to them. They'll receive that invite. And since we had selected that Google Meet link, it'll create the Google Link Meet and send it to them as well. One quick note about Google Meet. If you are to do it this way, you need to come back to your calendar and click join with Google Meet here because you are the Google Meet host. If you simply used the link here or went to Google Meet some other way, you might run into issues. More on Google Meet in a different video. But for now, we're just going to focus on creating events. With our first event created, we can see that we have the event open right here, and it gives us a breakdown of all of the information and details about it, what guests we have invited, how many have confirmed yes for attending versus how many we're waiting on responses from. There's the description right here. We have a set reminder of 30 minutes before the event. What reminders do is when the time arrives, Google Calendar will pop a window, like a box with the message saying that your event is about to start right here. And at the bottom here, we see that this is the calendar that this event is a part of. It's a part of our Charter Technologies calendar, which over on the left-hand side in our list of calendars is right here and corresponds to that color, that kind of light blue here. We can see that our event is light blue to correspond with that calendar. If we were to change the color of our calendars to, say, yellow or citron, it'll change the color of our event to correspond. So to view the details of an event, you simply click on the event like so, and it brings that up. At the very bottom, we can see our RSVPs. So are we going to the event? We are currently selected as yes. But if we choose no, it whites out the event and crosses it off saying that we're not going. And if we change it to like a maybe, it gives it another little like striped look to help differentiate at a glance whether it's like, oh, these are events I've confirmed that I'm going to, ones that I might be going to if I have time, or that I'm just strictly not going to. So we'll go back to yes. Now, say we want to add, we've already created our event and we want to add some more people to the guest list. Or we want to change the time. It's like, oh, the event's getting pushed back from, say, 3 o'clock to 3:30. One way that we can do that is we can go to the top, to the little pen icon right here, and click Edit Event. This brings up the Advanced Options section here, where on the right-hand side, where under Guests, we can add more guests. So we can add third person at organization.org. And then simply, if we wanted to add a fourth person, comma, fourth person, so on and so forth for adding guests. If we wanted to change the time, in the upper left here, we click the time, brings back that drop-down menu, and push it back to, say, 3:30. And again, still say till 5, so it's only an hour and a half instead of, say, 2 hours now. If we didn't have our Google Meet option before, we could add it here, but we already do. and any other various changes that you want to change about the specific event. In the upper right hand corner, we have more actions. This allows us to do a couple other things. We could publish the event, for example. What publishing the event does is it generates a generic link that we could send to people that would just allow them to access the meet or add the meet to their calendar without having to directly invite people. So this would be something you could, like, if it's like an open forum of some kind that you want the general public to come to, you could post this link on your website. People could click on it to add it to their calendars, things like that. And then once we've made our changes, we hit save. And again, we get prompted because we added another guest to send them an email invite. We hit yes. And now we can see that our event here, the time has been changed. It's been shifted down half an hour. And if we left click on it, we can see that our third person has been added. Another quick way of changing the time of an event is you can simply click and drag the event from one time to another on your calendar. Obviously, if you have guests, you would need to inform them that the time has changed. So you'll be prompted to send them an invite notification saying, hey, the time has been changed. A couple more options you might want to consider are changing that 30-minute reminder. Say you don't want the reminder to be 30 minutes before the meeting. Maybe you want it to be 15 or more. Again, we go back to the edit event option right here. And then we see on the left-hand side where it says notifications, 30. We can set that to hours, 30 days, weeks. You can change it to any one of these increments. You can obviously change it from 30 to, say, 5 minutes before the event. You can also add multiple notifications by hitting add notification. And so this way, I want it to be a notification every 5 minutes from 15 minutes before the event. Keep reminding me that the event's coming up. So you can add multiple notifications to the event to make sure that you don't miss it. Another little thing, so we have our Google Calendar, our Charter Technologies calendar here, and it's set to that citrine yellow color. We'll say we want this specific event to be differentiated and stand out from the rest of our calendar. We can change the color for just that specific event. So we hit save to make sure that our changes are saved. And we can see here that our event is now that pink flamingo color with a little hint of yellow on the left side, indicating that this event is still part of that Charter Technologies calendar. So if we were to deselect this calendar, our event would disappear because we're hiding all events that are under this particular calendar. Check it, bring it back, like so. If we were to create a new event, it would again be under that yellow citrine color that we had selected for that calendar. And if we were to change it to, say, a green color, we see that it's got that green edge now versus yellow. Same with our default event color here. To delete or cancel an event, simply select the event that you wish to delete or cancel to open up the menu. Then at the top, click on the delete event little trash icon. And if you had guests invited to that event, it will prompt you to send a cancellation email to them. Obviously, you would want to let people know that your event is canceled. So you click send, and it deletes the event from your calendar. Let's say that we have our meeting at 2 o'clock here in conference room B, and we didn't quite finish discussing everything that we had on the itinerary, and we instead need to set another meeting to continue the discussion from the first meeting. Well, instead of clicking and going through the whole process of recreating the event invite, we can simply duplicate the event by left-clicking the event, and then we can click on these three little dots options here, clicking duplicate, which will bring us to that advanced options menu here. And we can simply say, all right, we're going to continue this meeting later today at, say, 5 o'clock. And so that we change the date of the meeting. All of our previous settings and the people that we had invited to that group are already in place, so we don't have to re-add them. We then hit save to save our changes. And then, of course, send the email invite to all of our guests. And then we can see that we have a duplicated event created here. Now that we've learned how to create and customize our events, we're going to look at another tool that will help us keep our schedules organized. And that tool is creating and adding new calendars. As you can see right here, I've added a bunch of events, and you can see that without going through each event and customizing the color like we did with our first event here, it can get a little confusing at a glance of what is what. So what we can do to help that is create a separate calendar for things that we would put things like our personal events or appointments into. So, for example, if we didn't want all of our team meeting stuff and training stuff, our work events, to be lumped together with, say, a dentist appointment, we would create a new calendar for our personal things, and it would be a separate color code. To create a new calendar, in the left-hand corner here, right where it says Other Calendars, we're going to click on this plus symbol, which will bring down a drop-down menu. We'll click on Create New Calendar, which will bring you to the Create New Calendar settings. We'll give it a name, Personal, and a description for personal appointments. And then we click on Create Calendar to create it. We have successfully created our new calendar. We're going to go ahead and click back. And now under our My Calendars list on the left-hand side here, we can see that we have a new calendar called Personal added to that list. And then again, we can customize what color that it shows up as. I'm going to go with, let's go with purple. And so now, when we create an event, down at the bottom here of our event menu, we have now a drop down, and we can choose which of our calendars this event belongs to, like so. So now we can go back to our new list of events here, and our dentist appointment, we can click on it. We can hit Edit Event. And on the left-hand side where it says Charter Technologies, we can click that drop down and add it to the personal calendar. Hit save. It's now marked similar to the other personal calendar event. Same with our lunch with friend. We'll click edit that. Drop down, personal, save. And now you can see that our calendar is becoming a lot more legible at a glance. We can tell, oh, I've got 2 personal meetings today, 3 work meetings, and 2 special events. Another great thing about having multiple calendars is that if I were to say, oh, I only want to look at my work events for the day, you can deselect your personal events and they disappear, and you can see just your work events. The reverse is also true. If we want to just see what do we got for personal, you can check the different boxes and it'll show you only which events correspond to that calendar. This helps. Instead of trying to read a giant block of text, you can separate it out by type of events, and it makes searching for those events a lot easier. After creating multiple calendars to help keep ourselves organized, we can also share our calendars with other people, as well as we can add calendars from other people as well. First, we'll look at sharing our calendars with others. To do so, we simply hover over our calendar that we wish to share. We click on the three little dots here, and then we click on Settings and Sharing. Now that brings us to our general advanced calendar settings. We simply just scroll down a little bit to where we see access permissions and share with specific people. So access permissions, a little thing about that, there's this checkbox that says make available to public. What this does is it makes our calendar available to anybody in the world to see. They simply need to search our name or our email address and they can get access to our calendar. I don't necessarily recommend this option unless it's for like your organization's events that are open to the public that you want them to have free access to. That would be a scenario where making your calendar events public would make sense. You can create a shareable link that you can send to people that they can click on and use to add and access your calendar. But probably the best way is to add individual people by clicking the share with specific people option right here. So you simply click add people, then you type in their email address. So in this case, we're going to share with charter.technologies.person@gmail.com. And then you can customize the level of permissions they have. You can make it so that they can see whether you're busy or free, the actual details of the events, allow them to make changes to your events, or make changes and further share your calendar if you would want. We're just going to go with see all event details, which is the default. We're going to hit send. Now that's going to send an email to that person's email address. And we're going to go ahead and log in right now to show you what that looks like. So we're now looking at the chartertechnologies.person's email. And you can see they got an email from us, chartertechnologies.drive, telling them that we have shared our calendar with them. So they simply open up their email, click add this calendar, which will then bring them to their Google Calendar. They'll be prompted asking them to add the calendar. They simply click add, and they can all of a sudden see all of those events under that chartertechnologies.drive calendar that we shared with them. And then they can go ahead and customize that color to be whatever they want it to be, like with all the other events, like so. We can add another person's calendar to our own by requesting access to their calendar through the subscribe to a calendar option located in the bottom left corner by clicking that plus sign here. So we click subscribe to calendar. Then it'll bring us to this settings menu. We simply type that person's email address that we want their calendar from. We click enter. Then if that person's calendar is not public, we will get this not have permission to access the calendar error here. So we can type a message to that person, or we can just click request access. So we're going to click request access, which will send an email to them asking them for permission to access their calendar. Once they grant our access to their calendar, they will be sending us an email back allowing us to add that calendar to our own. So we see we received this email from them in response. We open it up. We click add this calendar. We are then taken to our Google Calendar and prompted to add that calendar. We click add. And then as you can see, down here under other calendars, we have chartertechnologies.person@gmail's Google Calendar added. And they have 2 events here on Saturday, the 11th, added to our own that we can then customize again with different colors for easy viewing. From the other perspective, if someone is requesting to view your calendar, they will send you that email, which we received here, asking for permission to access your calendar. You would open it up, click the link provided right here, which will then bring you to your Google Calendar, where you'll be prompted to share with the person who requested access to your calendar. So as you can see, they are automatically added here, the chartertechnologies.drive@gmail account. You simply click send, which will then send the email response back to them, allowing them to add your calendar to theirs. The last feature I want to discuss in this video is utilizing Google Calendar's tasks function. So under our list of calendars, we have an option called tasks. I have hidden it currently because I've added a few tasks already. So when I click on this, they'll show up. So we have several tasks that have been added to our calendar here, here, and here. When we create an event by left clicking like so, right here we have the option of designating that event as a task instead of an event. So if we click task, we can give it a title. Created task, to do. Tasks are basically our to-do lists. We can choose when we want the task to be done by. So say we want it done by noon today, even though we're past that time. We can edit the date. It could be an all-day task, something we're working on all day. If we check the all day, it moves the task up to the very top of the day here. And of course, we can add descriptions of what the task is for, what are we looking to do with it, whatever we want to make it a nice reminder for ourselves. Like with our calendars, we have a drop-down menu here that we can have several different task lists to choose from. Currently, we only have the default one, so we'll go with that. We click Save, and then that adds our new created task here. In the upper right-hand corner here, this little blue pen icon is a quick task shortcut. If we click on that, it'll expand from the right here and show us a list of all of our tasks. From this menu, we can add additional tasks by clicking on the Add a Task option right here. So, additional task. We can then edit that task to give it more details, as well as adding a date and time. So we want today, and let's say, I don't know, 6 o'clock. And then we hit OK. And that task should now appear in our list. And if we were to refresh our calendar here, we see additional tasks by 6 p.m. right here. We can also, under this drop down right here where it says My Tasks, create another list similar to when we created additional calendars. We can add a personal tasks list right here. Add a task, personal task. Give it a date and time. Say Saturday at 3:30. Okay. And then when we go back, we see that that task has now been added, and then it shows up on our calendar here. When we complete a task, we simply click the little circle here to mark complete. And then if we refresh our calendar, we'll see that that task has a strike through indicating that that task has been completed. Instead of having to come to our task list and check to see which task is no longer in the list, we can see that, oh, behind on work, we caught up. We are now done with that task. And that will conclude our Charter Technologies tutorial on Google Calendar. I hope that now you have a better understanding on how to use Google Calendar to keep yourself organized and on schedule. Thanks for watching.